I've been a Scientologist for over 30 years,
Yeah.
and it's something that, as you know, without it, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a beautiful religion, and I'm very proud.
In the heart of Beverly Hills, one of the most opulent places on Earth, where every square meter costs more than gold, stands a $14 million mansion, designed like a fortress for the elite. A pool as long as a runway, a tennis court hidden beneath the trees, and interiors calibrated down to the last millimeter. This is the home of legendary actor Tom Cruise, a living icon of cinema, a man who turns every movie into a global event, and who makes audiences believe that there are no limits to what a human being can do on screen. At 63, he owns a fortune exceeding $600, a million, a string of luxury estates spanning 3 continents, and a lifestyle so extravagant that even tech billionaires would envy him. Yet behind those dazzling lights lie shadows that Hollywood prefers not to mention, from his secretive relationship with the powerful Scientology organization to long-standing rumors about a hidden homosexual love life. And those very mysteries spark the question: Tom Cruise, the immortal hero of the silver screen, or the prisoner of a world he built for himself? What does life look like today for the star of Mission Impossible? Now, at 63, Cruise seems to have it all: fame, wealth, and power. By all accounts, he should be living a blissful life. Yet in reality, Tom Cruise remains bound by the invisible chains of Scientology, a religious order that controls him down to every breath, every decision, even the way he is allowed to appear before the public eye. But first, let's take a look at his life of luxury, one that will undoubtedly leave you amazed. Tom Cruise lives like royalty. From his palatial estates to his private jets, multi-million-dollar supercars, and a high-tech security system worthy of a military base. Every day, he travels aboard a Gulfstream IV jet, a World War II-era P-51 Mustang that he pilots himself, and a Eurocopter AS-350 helicopter used for commuting between film sets. In Telluride, Colorado, he once lived on a property spanning more than 300 acres, complete with its own airstrip, private cinema, spa, gym, and ski slopes reserved for close friends. In Beverly Hills, he owned a $35 million fortress, equipped with bulletproof walls, reinforced steel doors, and 360-degree surveillance cameras inspired by the CIA's command center. In Florida, he keeps a luxury apartment inside a complex owned by the Church of Scientology itself, guarded 24/7, where every employee is required to sign an absolute confidentiality agreement. Cruise isn't just rich. He lives like a commander inside his own private fortress. He maintains a personal security team trained to intelligence agency standards, a garage housing a Bugatti Veyron and armored BMWs, and a private hangar at Van Nuys Airport. Each morning, he often takes off in his own plane to circle the Telluride Valley before starting the day, a personal ritual of power and control. But the true symbol of luxury for Tom Cruise isn't found in his homes or his wealth. It lies in the way he controls the world around him. Cruise doesn't flaunt, doesn't party, and stays off social media. Yet everything in his orbit exists on an extravagant level. A private fleet that includes a Gulfstream IV jet, a custom-designed aircraft hangar at Van Nuys Airport, Ducati motorcycles and Bugatti supercars in his garage, and a personal security team trained like intelligence operatives. He can fly from California to Europe without ever passing through a commercial terminal, landing directly on the private runway of his Telluride estate. Each morning, he often takes a flight over the valley before beginning his day, his own ritual of command and precision. Despite living amid opulence, Cruise is astonishingly reclusive. After his 2012 divorce from Katie Holmes, he virtually vanished from public life. No parties, no personal interviews, no appearances on Hollywood Boulevard. When not filming, he retreats to his $14 million mansion on Sunset Boulevard, where every door is soundproofed, and only a handful of trusted individuals are ever allowed inside. Yet, that absolute control has led to the greatest paradox in Tom Cruise's life. He has everything except freedom. Behind the glittering facade, the Church of Scientology, the organization to which he has devoted nearly 4 decades and within which he is revered as a living saint, still envelops and dictates nearly every aspect of his existence. According to former members, Cruise is not merely a follower, but the Church's most protected and privileged symbol. The organization manages everything for him, from housekeepers and chauffeurs to even selecting potential girlfriends. Some insiders claim he has his own private quarters at Scientology's Gold Base headquarters in California, where highly confidential files on senior members are stored. Gary Moorhead, the former head of security at Gold Base, has described the relationship between Cruise and David Miscavige, Scientology's supreme leader, as so close it's impossible to tell where faith ends and power begins. Within Scientology, Cruise is regarded as royalty. He has his own office, his own staff, and is attended to by Sea Org members who handle everything from his meals to his cars. Moorhead recalled that Cruise treated Gold Base like his second home, often staying for days at a time, working out, smoking cigars, racing cars, skydiving, and attending Las Vegas parties with Miscavige. For Cruise, Miscavige was willing to bend internal rules and grant privileges that no one else had ever received. But beneath that apparent camaraderie lies a darker truth. Moorhead revealed that every one of Cruise's activities at Gold Base was secretly recorded. He himself was once ordered by Miscavige to install 2 cameras, one visible for the sake of transparency, and another hidden, serving as a private amusement for the Church's leader, who insisted on knowing exactly what the organization's biggest star was doing every single moment of the day. According to multiple insider sources, nearly every aspect of Tom Cruise's life, from his daily schedule, friendships, and film contracts to even the person he marries, has been directly influenced by Scientology. The organization is said to play a role in selecting his potential partners, controlling who he meets, what he says, and even how he appears in public. It was also around this time that rumors about Cruise's sexuality began to spread, something Scientology has allegedly gone to great lengths to conceal. Several former staff members claim to have seen Cruise in intimate situations with an unknown man within the private quarters of Gold Base. Years later, a porn actor named Chad Slater publicly claimed to have had an affair with Cruise while the star was married to Nicole Kidman. Although Cruise sued for defamation and won, the rumor never truly disappeared. A former Scientology member revealed, "Whenever a story about Tom's sexuality surfaces, the Church immediately wipes every trace, controls the media, and threatens anyone who dares to speak." Jamie DeWolf, great-grandson of Scientology's founder L. Ron Hubbard, has made similar claims. He said, "Miscavige holds every personal secret Cruise has, while the actor still believes they are best friends. Tom will be the last person to leave the Church," DeWolf stated, "because if he ever does, it would mean admitting that his entire life has been a lie, and for someone like Tom Cruise, that's almost impossible." But to understand why Tom Cruise is so deeply bound to Scientology, we need to return to the beginning, to the place where the first cracks in his character began to form. Before becoming the symbol of fearless action and cinematic perfection, Tom Cruise was just a small boy from Syracuse, New York, born in 1962, the only son among 3 sisters, growing up in a middle-class family where violence and fear were part of everyday life. His father, an irritable, alcoholic electrical engineer, was described by Tom as a merchant of chaos. Every time his father's footsteps echoed at the door, the air in their small Canadian apartment would tighten like a drawn bowstring. His mother, gentle but fragile, would pull him aside and whisper, "Don't answer back, son. just endure it. Tom later said he never truly had a father. He could kiss you one moment and hit you the next. On cold Ottawa nights, the boy learned to listen to every breath and every creak in the house, anticipating the storm that was about to come. And amid that chaos, Cruz developed a survival instinct, the ability to stay calm within the storm, a trait that would later define his control over every frame, turning fear into power on screen. The Cruz family never stayed in one place for long. They were constantly moving from Syracuse, New York, to Ottawa, Canada, and back again to the United States. During his 12 years of schooling, Tom attended 15 different schools, living the life of a boy who was always starting over, surrounded by unfamiliar faces and names that no one ever remembered for long. For young Tom, every new school was a challenge. His small frame, distinct voice, and quiet nature made him an easy target for bullies. Later, he recalled, "Many times, the big guys would come up and shove me around. I wasn't big, and I didn't like to fight, but I knew that if I didn't fight back, they'd never stop." It was during those early years that Tom learned one of life's first and hardest lessons, that sometimes, to survive, you have to fight, even if it's just to keep a shred of dignity. At the age of 7, Tom was diagnosed with dyslexia. The world of words became a blur, letters seemed to dance, lines twisted and shifted before his eyes. He was scolded by teachers, laughed at by classmates, and gradually fell silent. But from that struggle came an extraordinary gift, an uncanny power of observation. He began to memorize through people's eyes, gestures, and breaths. While others read, he watched and understood. That very skill would later define his instinctive style of acting, making audiences believe that he wasn't performing, but he was living each role. When Tom was 12, his parents divorced. He left behind his abusive father and started a new life with his mother and sisters. By day, he attended school. By night, he washed dishes and delivered newspapers to help support the family. At 14, he briefly considered becoming a priest. The church was the only place that made him feel safe and grounded. A local priest, impressed by the boy's discipline and resolve, encouraged him to enroll at St. Francis Seminary, a Catholic school in Cincinnati. There, Tom began the cloistered life of a seminarian. Morning prayers, theology classes in the afternoon, and scripture reading before bed. He remained quiet, yet remarkably focused whenever he had to read or speak before others. It was there that Tom first discovered what it felt like to stand before an audience, to be heard, noticed, and truly present. A year later, he left the seminary. His dream of priesthood faded like smoke, but the seed of performance had already taken root. Then one school play changed everything. The spotlight hit him, and the timid boy suddenly came alive. "I felt like I was being heard," Cruz recalled. "For the first time, I wasn't afraid of people watching me." From that moment on, he knew his place wasn't at the altar, it was on the stage. After graduating high school, he left home with just a few $100s and an old suitcase, heading first to New York, then Los Angeles. He worked as a waiter by day and crashed on friends' couches by night. He auditioned endlessly, faced rejection after rejection, but never gave up. That same obsession with perfection forged in his turbulent childhood slowly set him apart. Cruz didn't just want to land a role, he wanted to be the best person in the room. In 1981, Tom Cruise made his screen debut in Endless Love. His part lasted barely 11 seconds, but it was enough to catch the eye of renowned director Franco Zeffirelli. "I'd never seen such confidence in a kid who'd never acted before," Zeffirelli said. A year later, Taps introduced audiences to the intensity burning behind his eyes. But it was risky business, 1983, that truly launched him to stardom. The scene of him sliding across the floor in a white shirt to old-time rock and roll became a pop culture phenomenon the moment an ordinary young man became a star. Cruise was only 21, youthful, fiery, and unaware that the same spotlight illuminating his path to fame was also about to expose the deepest shadows of his life. Along with fame, Tom Cruise's innate perfectionism began to morph into something far more consuming, an obsession with control. Co-stars recalled that Cruise always wanted to direct everything, from the camera angle and lighting to the rhythm of the edits. He could demand a scene be reshot dozens of times simply because the energy wasn't right. To some, it was dedication. To others, it was a relentless addiction to control. In 1986, Top Gun hit theaters, and the cinematic world was never the same. Clad in a tight flight suit, flashing that half-smile and defiant gaze, Tom Cruise became Pete Maverick Mitchell, the perfect embodiment of Reagan-era America. Youthful, aggressive, and burning with ambition to conquer the skies. The film grossed over $350 million, became a cultural phenomenon, and propelled Cruise into global superstardom. From the boy who was once bullied at school, his face now covered magazine covers, movie posters, dorm room walls, and even U.S. military barracks. But while Maverick soared across the blazing sky, Tom Cruise on the ground began to lose touch with the simplicity that had once saved him. Behind the photo shoots and applause, he avoided parties and rarely attended Hollywood celebrations. Instead, he spent his nights alone in the gym, rereading scripts, rehearsing every movement, every glance before the mirror. While the world celebrated Maverick, Cruise seemed to be running from something unseen, perhaps the fear of stopping, or the fear that when the lights went out, no one would remember his name. And have you ever wondered what makes a man standing at the peak of fame so terrified of standing still in the dark? The answer lies in the years that followed, when Tom Cruise began racing against his own stardom, from The Color of Money, 1986, with Paul Newman, to Rain Man, 1988, alongside Dustin Hoffman. And Born on the 4th of July, 1989, the role that earned him his first Oscar nomination. Cruise transcended the label of an action hero and became a serious actor. Hollywood was infatuated with him, and he, in turn, was infatuated with perfection. "I don't believe in coincidence," Cruise once said. In filmmaking, everything has to be designed. It wasn't just a work philosophy, it was a confession. He had forgotten how to let go, forgotten that art sometimes needs a little imperfection to stay human. Amid that relentless pursuit of excellence, a quiet turning point emerged. Cruise met actress Mimi Rogers, the woman who introduced him to the Church of Scientology, a controversial organization known for its secrecy and influence. In 1986, he officially joined. Cruise believed Scientology had cured his dyslexia and given him the confidence his childhood lacked. But to the media, it signaled something else, another manifestation of his obsession with control. When he couldn't master the chaos of life, he turned to a system that promised to master it for him. They married in 1987, and for a brief time, Cruise thought he had found solid ground. But as his fame skyrocketed, that marriage began to crumble. In 1990, the couple divorced quietly. To many, it was the first visible consequence of his pursuit of perfection, a man forever seeking absolute order, yet losing the only things that can exist within chaos: love and peace. In the early 1990 seconds, on the set of Days of Thunder, Tom met Nicole Kidman. She was young, intelligent, and fiery, a mirror image of himself. They fell in love, married, and became Hollywood's golden couple. Together, they starred in Far and Away, 1992, and later, Eyes Wide Shut, 1999, a film that seemed to reflect their own marriage, glamorous yet cold, where passion and control blurred into one indistinguishable force. On the outside, They were perfection itself. On the inside, the cracks were spreading. Nicole, independent and introspective, began to feel suffocated by her husband's world of rigid schedules, unshakable beliefs, and endless routines. Meanwhile, Cruz's career soared even higher. A Few Good Men, 1992, with its iconic line, "You can't handle the truth." The Firm, 1993. Interview with the Vampire, 1994. And most notably, Mission, Impossible, 1996. A film he both starred in and produced. It grossed more than $450 million worldwide, transforming him from an actor into a powerful producer. But it also earned him a new label in the press, the dictator of the set. Those who worked with him claimed he could halt an entire production simply because the lighting was half a tone off. It wasn't just perfectionism. It was the fear of losing control, a ghost that had followed him since childhood. At the very height of his fame, his personal life began to fracture. Nicole wanted children, while Tom believed everything has to happen at the right time. They adopted 2 kids, but the distance between them only grew wider. By 2001, their 10-year marriage came to an end. Hollywood was stunned, and the public began whispering about Scientology, an organization said to have rejected Nicole Kidman's free spirit. During this time, Tom's faith in Scientology was no longer just a spiritual belief. It had become a system governing every aspect of his life. People said Cruz believed the church had saved him from dyslexia and childhood insecurity, and so he was willing to place every relationship, even marriage, beneath that devotion. Cruz remained silent, saying only one cold, weary sentence. Some things in life can't be explained with words. It sounded like the sigh of a man who had touched every summit, only to realize that no place was truly safe. But that was only the beginning of a new chapter, one in which the world would witness a very different Tom Cruise. Are you curious to know what happened behind the spotlight, where the glare of fame began to fade into shadow? In 2005, everything exploded. On the Oprah Winfrey Show, Tom Cruise jumped on a sofa, shouting that he was in love with Katie Holmes. The stunt was meant to display affection, but instead, it became one of the most ridiculed moments of his entire career. The cool, composed hero of Top Gun had suddenly become Hollywood's oddball. And before the public could recover, he plunged himself into another storm, openly criticizing actress Brooke Shields for using antidepressants after childbirth, insisting that there is no such thing as mental illness. The remark infuriated the medical community and alienated fans. For the first time in 2 decades, Tom Cruise lost the one thing he valued most: control over his own image. From this point on, the shadow of Scientology was no longer a metaphor. The deeper Tom sank into the church, the wider the distance grew between him and the outside world, and the one left behind in the end was his wife, Katie Holmes. What began as a fairy tale marriage soon darkened. Behind the smiles and the lavish wedding in Italy were strict religious rules and invisible surveillance. For 6 months, Katie secretly planned her escape from the church. She used a burner phone to avoid wiretaps, quietly worked with her lawyers, and prepared every legal step in advance. Then, while Tom was filming Oblivion in Iceland, she struck at the perfect moment, filing for divorce, winning full custody of their daughter Suri, and leaving Scientology forever. Cruise was devastated. He lost his wife, his daughter, and perhaps most painfully, the greatest role of his life. The image of the perfect man Hollywood had worshipped for 3 decades. Yet, what makes Tom Cruise remarkable is his ability to rise from wreckage. While other stars of his generation faded into obscurity, he returned to the one thing that had never betrayed him: cinema. Mission: Impossible. Ghost Protocol, 2011, saw him scaling the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, without a stunt double. Edge of Tomorrow, 2014, proved that, even past 50, he could still run, jump, and fight, as though time itself couldn't touch him. Then came Top Gun. Maverick, 2022, a moment that stunned Hollywood. At 60, Cruise took to the skies again, not to prove himself, but to remind the world that determination can outlast time itself. The film grossed over $1.5 billion and single-handedly revived movie theaters after the pandemic. Young audiences admired him for his relentless self-reliance. Older fans wept at the sight of a man who had somehow brought their youth back to life. Though trapped within Scientology's invisible web, Tom Cruise still holds on to one escape the roar of engines echoing from his $3 million garage. Among his fleet of luxury cars, from Bugatti to Porsche, perhaps only when he starts the ignition and breathes in the sharp scent of gasoline does he truly feel free. The first car that catches the eye is the BMW 7 Series G, 11, G, 12, the kind of refined sedan Cruise uses for everyday travel. Jet black and gleaming like still water, it exudes understated elegance. A near-silent engine, warm brown leather interior, and an advanced gesture control system. It's the kind of car chosen by Europe's elite, featured in Mission: Impossible, Fallout, and the top-tier versions easily exceed $150,000. Cruise didn't choose it for the price, but for its ability to disappear. The rarest luxury for a man constantly under the world's gaze. But when the urge to conquer takes hold, when adrenaline surges through his veins, the Bugatti Veyron 16.4 becomes his weapon of choice. Painted in silver gray with a body sculpted to slice through the wind, this mechanical masterpiece is worth over $2 million and can reach a staggering top speed of 407 kilometers per hour. Only 450 were ever made, and Cruise owns one of the few EB 16.4 Grand Sport convertibles. Some say if there's any machine that mirrors Cruise himself, it's the Veyron. Powerful, precise, uncompromising, always existing on the razor's edge between control and chaos. In another corner of the garage rests a piece of history, a first-generation Chevrolet Corvette C1 restored to near-original perfection. Its bright red paint, chrome trim, and soft curves embody the 1,950 seconds American dream. Today, only a few dozen C1s remain in pristine condition, and each appearance at auction commands between $250,000 and $300,000. Cruise cherishes this car, not for its speed, but for its story, a symbol of post-war America's hope and freedom. It's said that on quiet Sunday mornings, he drives the Corvette along the Malibu coast, the top down, sunglasses hiding half his face. Not for attention, but to remind himself that beneath all the supercars and fame, there's still a simpler America, the one a boy once dreamed of driving through. And at the far end of the garage, in the darkest corner, sits the Dodge Challenger SRT-8, a beast of an entirely different soul. Cloaked in smoke gray with a growling Hemi V8 engine, the Challenger rejects luxury and technology. Its pure steel, gasoline, and raw power, more than 470 horsepower of untamed force. The model is a cornerstone of American muscle car culture, and Cruise owns one of the earliest SRT-8s ever built in 2008. Now a rare collector's piece. He loves it for its authenticity. Rough, imperfect, but alive. Every time he takes the wheel, he must focus completely, feeling each vibration, each gear shift, as if living inside an unwritten chase scene. It's not a car for the faint of heart, just like Tom Cruise himself, a man who refuses to accept anything halfway. And behind those roaring machines lies a financial empire he built with his own hands. Cruise's net worth is now estimated at over $600 million, most of it drawn from two main pillars: acting salaries and profit participation. Since the 1,990 seconds, he has negotiated profit-sharing deals instead of fixed paychecks. As a result, every Mission, Impossible and Top Gun Maverick film has made him a direct beneficiary of their worldwide box office triumphs. Top Gun Maverick alone earned him more than $100 million, the ultimate payoff for 3 decades spent crafting the image of the only man who dares to do what no one else will. When Cruise hangs off planes, jumps Halo-style from military altitude, or pilots a helicopter through mountain passes, audiences aren't just buying tickets, they're paying to witness risk made real. In 1992, Tom founded Cruise, Wagner Productions, a turning point that transformed him from a hired actor into the one running the entire game. The company produced a string of billion-dollar hits, establishing him as a true film entrepreneur. While most Hollywood stars rely on studios, Cruise did the opposite. He turned every project into its own mini-company, a profit-generating machine spanning theatrical releases, TV rights, and streaming platforms. Where others sought roles, he sought control. Alongside his film career, Cruise became a shrewd real estate investor. He once owned a 10,000-square-foot mansion in Beverly Hills, sold in 2016 for $39 million, a 320-acre timber ranch in Telluride, Colorado sold in 2021 for a similar amount, and a 2-story penthouse in Clearwater, Florida, just blocks away from the Scientology headquarters. Though not one to boast, every deal he made was as precise as an action scene, buying at the right moment, selling at the peak, and pocketing profits in the tens of millions. Beyond films and real estate, Cruise also earns from selective endorsement deals, primarily in Japan and across Asia, where he has remained a cultural icon since the 1,980 seconds and 1,990 seconds. While many Hollywood stars flood the market with commercials, Cruise does the opposite, choosing rarity to preserve his brand's value. That restraint ensures that each of his appearances becomes a global event. Now, in his 60s, Tom Cruise remains one of the few actors capable of driving a billion-dollar box office single-handedly. For him, Hollywood isn't a place of luck. It's a battlefield of preparation and absolute control. By turning himself into a self-sustaining brand, Cruise achieved what few ever could, being both the brightest star on screen and the unseen mastermind behind the curtain, adjusting the spotlight to shine exactly where he wants it. And amid the staggering numbers, the wealth, the box office records, people still wonder, can a man so private, so obsessed with precision and control, ever use his success for something greater than himself? The answer lies in the quiet philanthropy he rarely speaks about, but has pursued steadfastly for years. Few know that behind the stoic exterior of an action icon lies a man deeply committed to helping those less fortunate. The scars of his own childhood, especially his battle with dyslexia, gave Cruise a profound empathy for children struggling with isolation and self-doubt. After achieving fame, he began funding literacy and community education programs, helping thousands of students regain confidence in themselves. Cruise once said the thing that moves him most is the look in a child's eyes when they realize they can read like the whole world just opened up in front of them. Cruise's compassion doesn't stop at education. It extends to those who need protection the most. He has been a longtime supporter of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, often showing up quietly to meet terminally ill children and give them strength. He also donates regularly to funds that support American veterans and military families, helping them recover both physically and emotionally after the trauma of war. For him, gratitude shouldn't just be words, it must be expressed through action. After the September 11 attacks, Cruise was among the first to launch the New York Rescue Workers Support Project, which provided treatment for firefighters and police officers suffering from post-traumatic stress after their heroic efforts. When Hurricane Katrina devastated the southern United States, he once again stepped forward, donating money and rallying fellow actors to join in relief efforts. Around the same period, he contributed to children's medical funds, mobile healthcare programs, and AIDS patient support initiatives. Some stories may seem small, yet they leave a lasting mark. While filming in Virginia, Cruise heard about a young girl who had suffered a severe go-kart accident, leaving her family in financial crisis. Without fanfare, he quietly sent $5,000 to cover her medical bills. No media coverage, no grand gesture, just a simple act of kindness that changed a child's life. Though he has been honored many times for his humanitarian work, Tom Cruise continues to practice philanthropy in silence. He avoids lavish galas and publicity campaigns, choosing instead to help through subtle gestures, a check, a phone call, or simply showing up when someone needs him most. In a world fueled by glitter and noise, Cruise has carved out a quiet corner for himself where kindness is measured not by promises, but by action. After everything, Tom Cruise's life is like an epic film in which he plays both the director and the star. From a turbulent childhood and a fear of abandonment to decades spent chasing perfection, he has lived in constant tension between the man he truly is and the icon the world expects him to be. When the theater lights blaze, he's the man who defies gravity. But when they fade, what remains is a solitary figure standing in the quiet space of his own making. Now, in his 60s, Tom Cruise seems to understand that true strength doesn't come from death-defying stunts or billion-dollar box offices, but from the ability to rise again after every fall, quietly, steadfastly, and entirely on his own terms. And if you found this story worth hearing, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episodes. Tell me in the comments which moment of Tom Cruise impressed you the most: scaling the Burj Khalifa, the Halo jump, or his rebirth with Top Gun, Maverick? And whose secretive life would you like me to uncover next?